Well, it's fair to say that summer didn't exactly go according to plan. That being said, the last time that happened, we won promotion to the Premier League. Hello, Muggness Season 11, Episode 1 of Non-League to Legend. I'm Kev, and as you can see, I am still the manager of Ipswich Town Football Club. Not for want of trying as well, I'll tell you that. I mean, what jobs have I applied for this summer? The Man United job became available. They weren't interested. Everton became available. Not interested. Spurs, I applied for right at the end of the last episode of last season. Not interested. Barcelona came available. Not interested. There were probably a couple more as well that I can't remember off the top of my head. There were big jobs available this summer and nobody was interested. I applied for them all and didn't get anywhere. On top of that, it's been a really frustrating summer in the transfer market as well. Yes, we've signed £48 million off a player, but more than half of that, more than 2/3 of that is on fullbacks, one of which you already know about, Kyle Walker-Peters. He comes in from Man United, £6.5 million. Yes, he's a bit older than our normal profile of player, but he can play fullback on either side, provides good cover there. He's not going to be first choice, but he's handy to have around the squad and just allows Will Leach that bit of extra time to develop so that we're not completely relying on him to be our first choice left back. Walker-Peters can start the season if need be, or Leach can play and they can rotate a little bit, and it just gives a little bit of competition for Leach at left back as well as providing some cover over at right back so that we're not forced into playing either Leader or Fritscher over there. We've also signed a proper right back, Vladislav Lazarov, 22-year-old. Record signing for the club, £28 million. I mean, this is getting ridiculous now, the amount of money we're spending. I was this close to bringing in a midfielder for £55 million, and then I just thought, what on earth are you doing? You shouldn't have spent £28 million on a fullback, let alone all that money on yet another midfield player. So hopefully this is the end of silly transfers. But that being said, he looks like a cracking right back. So certainly not to complain that we brought him in. And then we've got a bit of a bargain. We've spent £13.5 million on 21-year-old David Martin from Arsenal. He's going to be back up to Johnny Vaughan as the attacking midfield player. But interestingly, he's also natural out on the right wing. Now, I'm half thinking, I wonder if we can find a striker who's also natural on the left wing and just give ourselves the option to play with a little bit of width from time to time. So that would be quite interesting. Of course, at the moment, the money is all gone, but the transfer window is still 3 weeks away from being closed. I have turned down £200 million worth of offers for our players this summer. We've had £20 million plus offers for Dane, Ambrose, Arendt, Leader, Johnny Vaughan. The one player no one seems to want to sign is Chris. The highest offer I got for him is £5 million, so we're persisting with him for another season. But we've turned them all down. I want to have another season keeping these lads together. Like I hinted at in the intro, the last time we didn't really sign anyone and just sort of stuck with what we had, we went on to have an amazing season. So I'm half hoping that's going to happen again. But the rug could be about to be pulled out from under us because of... Where is it? Hang on, where is it? Surely he's not already gone. Has he turned them down or has he gone? Interesting. Christian Arendt, where are you? Talk to me. Talk to me, Christian. No, you are under bid still. Oh, I got excited for a second there. This is a problem. Bayern Munich have met his minimum fee release clause. £28.5 million. Now, you know, when you bring a player in for 3.9 million, you think, £28.5 million minimum fee release clause, that's fine, we won't worry about that. Certainly not a season later. No, I'm really worried about it. We have offered him a contract on £100,000 a week that doesn't have a minimum fee release clause. We offered it to him 2 days before Bayern Munich came in with this offer, but he hasn't signed it yet. The offer is still outstanding. He's injured as well, so he's not even going to play today. Obviously, he's injured. He's Christian Arendt. So, he might... I mean, let's face it, he's going to Bayern Munich. Why wouldn't he have just signed our contract straight away? He knew what was going on. Personally, I think he's been tapped up. So, that puts us in quite the pickle, because it means we lose our best player. And we also are very light with attacking options then. I mean, Thierry Ambrose is still getting interest from clubs. Like I say, I've turned down a £20 million offer for him this summer for what would be our third choice striker. Henry Smith is still around as well, and moaning that he's not getting an opportunity, so it would allow him to get back in the side. But we've kind of been building for life, assuming that squad is going to stay together. So we've sold Ryan Hart, not a big deal. We've sold Keziah Sterling, a bit more of a big deal. We've sold him for an absolute snip to Brighton just because I felt I owed him the opportunity to go and get some first-team football somewhere. We've also sold Zubeldia and Herrera, not big deals either of them leaving. But we're basically going to be left with 3 strikers if Arendt goes. We're only getting to keep 40% of transfer money. So that means we're going to have £12 million to bring in a new striker. We're not going to bring in a striker like Arendt for 12 million quid, are we? Let's face it, we're bringing in a third or fourth choice, and that means Thierry Ambrose suddenly finds himself as first choice striker again for this season. So what did look like it was going to be all kinds of awesome is now looking less so. But let's not worry about that. We'll find out all about that in the next episode, or maybe even halfway through this one. We've got to play Leicester today, the team that broke my heart last season and led to me applying for all those jobs in the FA Cup semi-final. And this is the team that we're using against them. So we've got Ben Garrett in goal. New boys at full-back. Obviously, Walker-Peters was here last season. But Lazaroff comes in at right-back. Walker-Peters at left-back. So Will Leach does start the season as backup to Walker-Peters. I don't expect it to stay that way for long. Dane and Zabala as a centre-back partnership. I've forgiven Dane now. And the whole half the Premier League are after him. Arsenal, Chelsea, Man United, £25 million offers for him. I imagine he's got a minimum fee release clause as well. I mean, are we going to have to go through and offer everyone new deals? Okay, so his is £37 million. I would probably be all right selling him for that. But again, he'd be hard to replace. Then in midfield, we've got Fritscher, Chris and Youssef. That, if Chris can have a good season and Fritscher can carry on being as good as he was at right back, that is an incredible midfield for Ipswich Town. And then up front, Vaughan, Larsio and Ambrose. For the first time, I'm more worried about this position up front than anywhere else in the squad. Goalkeeper is potentially a bit iffy, but back 4, midfield 3, really, really happy with what we've got there now. I am a little concerned about where the goals will come from if Arendt goes. Obviously, Larsio looked good towards the end of last season, but is he going to be able to carry the team by himself? I don't know. He's a Brazilian wonder kid. He's a year older. Maybe he will. Right, let's get into this game anyway. Yes, lots of people are tired because I am rubbish at pre-seasons. Give David Martin his squad number. I was half tempted to play him today because Johnny Vaughan's been injured for the last couple of weeks, but I didn't. I want Vaughan in the side, especially without Aaron. I don't want to have to lose 2 of our normal front 3. Yes, we've looked good in training. Vaughan's not likely to see out the game though, so we are going to see David Martin make his debut probably fairly early on in the second half. Oh, it would be nice to start with a win. The media reminded me in the press conference that I've never won a first game of the season as Ipswich Town manager, and this is my 6th attempt. That's not a particularly good record to have, is it? So you'll have watched all of them, because I always do the first match of the season, so you all know what to expect. Hey, Garrett doesn't know. He shouldn't have saved that. That had goal written all over it. But you lot know. Oh, it's episode 1 of a new season. That's at least 1 defeat. So I imagine it's coming. But it would be nice to break that record and just get off to a decent start to a season. But who knows? Are we actually we're not really getting the ball even yet. Dane does quite well though to win the ball back there. Oh, that was just insane. What was Garrett thinking there? That was a horrible clearance, and we're very lucky that it didn't lead to a goal. It did create a clear-cut chance for Leicester, but we've got away with it a little bit there. Ambrose now finds Fritscher with a fantastic pass. What can he do with it? It's out to Walker-Peters, comes back into Ambrose, and Thierry, I mean, he was offside, but you would have expected Ambrose to score from there normally. This is a massive season for Thierry Ambrose. He's 28 years old now, potentially finding himself as our first choice striker again. This is where he basically decides whether he goes on to become an Ipswich legend and get 20-25 goals, or whether we realise he's just not up to it anymore and he was never really more than a championship player. I mean, he showed glimpses last season. Walker-Peters really wants to help Will Leach's development, I think. He was trying to score a spectacular own goal, which would have almost certainly led to him being dragged off the pitch at half-time. Right, Vaughan is struggling. Ambrose is struggling. And we even Walker Peters isn't match fit. Neither is Chris. We're doing well to still be in this game, to be honest, looking at the state of that squad. What have we spent pre-season doing? As I'm sure you can probably guess, I'll leave it all to my assistant manager. I'm too busy hunting through my shortlist from my scouts all summer long, trying to bring in players. And this season, it has been a struggle. After bringing in, 10, 11 players last year, and there were still 5 more I would have brought in if we'd have had the money. This summer, I just can't find anyone at a reasonable price. Lazaroff was the closest, and he was a club record, and he's a right back. I think the problem we've got is we've hit a bit of a ceiling where we have a fantastic young squad now. To improve on this squad, we have to spend an absolute fortune, which we haven't got. But also, because they're so good, we've now got players who are whinging and moaning and potentially wanting to leave. So last season probably, maybe, might have been the pinnacle of Ipswich for us, which is why it would have been the ideal time to leave over the summer. Obviously wasn't to be. We'll bring Texera on for Chris, who started the season the way he ended the last one. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make the substitution I actually intended to make. We need to bring David Martin on for Johnny Vaughan. And am I going to take off Ambrose as well? In fact, I might still take Chris off. We'll do that. And then still put Fritzsche there. So let's have a look at David Martin, see if he's any good. I mean, I'm quite happy that we've picked up a promising young player from Arsenal, reasonably cheap. Obviously, we've got previous for doing that. Henry Smith was even cheaper. But Martin's much more promising. Has the potential to be a real top Premier League attacking midfielder in a year or two's time. So, surprised to see him letting go of so many good young players. But who knows? Perhaps they've lost it. I don't even know who's Arsenal manager. In fact, Guardiola was Arsenal manager last time I looked, I think. So he has lost it. Right, Martin. What can he do? He finds Yusuf. Yusuf finds Ambrose, and we're 1-0 up on the first game of the season. And it's that man, Thierry Ambrose, Mr. Ipswich Town. We're 1-0 up. He's going to be here until he's 40, isn't he? It's written in the stars now. He was one of my first signings. I signed him before I played a game as Ipswich manager. Here we are, 6 years later, 6 years later. This is the 6th season at Ipswich, so 5 years later, and he's still getting our first goal of the season. I'm going to throw this out there. After 10 years of non-league to legend, I think Thierry Ambrose is probably the best signing I've made. £1.1 million. Over 100 league goals now. That'll do, won't it? Could sell him for £20 million plus at any moment. Right. Let's bring Smith on for Lazio. And wind down the clock a little bit here. In fact, I'm saying wind down the clock. We're still playing attacking. Because there's been debate in the comments. Feel free to get involved in the debate as well. Because some people are saying, if you're winning, why would you change the system? Carry on attacking forever and ever. Some people say, whoa, you've gone into the lead, defend immediately. Where do you sit on the debate? I'm probably in the just keep attacking forever camp. Because every time I ever try to go defensive, we concede. And somehow, despite them having 6 clear-cut chances today, we're hanging on whilst being attacking. And that never happens when we go defensive. But they're going to score here, aren't they? Oh, no, they didn't. We've won on the first game of the season. There you go. We've broken it. That's a sign of things to come. We're just going to win every game now. That's going to be the new Ipswich way. Right, who are we playing next? We're at Newcastle. Let's go and do that now. Transfer news. The team we're playing today, Newcastle, are trying to buy all of our strikers. We've just turned down £3 million for Henry Smith and £22 million for Thierry Ambrose. Unfortunately, there was a transfer deal we were not able to turn down. He's gone. We had 1 season of this man as an Ipswich player. He was always... I mean, look at how much money they're paying him. £215,000 a week. We offered him $100,000 and it was maxing out. He would have been earning $30,000 more than our best player, our best paid player. He's still not got a Germany cap, but they're paying him silly money. I mean, part of me thinks, Well, come on, lad, you weren't getting in the Dortmund team a year ago. What makes you think you're going to go and get in the Bayern team now? Yeah, you got a load of goals in the Premier League, but couldn't you have given us another year? Was 100 grand a week for one more year not enough? We plucked you from obscurity. Your career was going nowhere. First chance you get, back to Germany. I mean, he'll go and get 50 goals in the Champions League this season now or something ridiculous. Very disappointing. There is a contingency plan. I had him in the back of my mind for a little while. The player I'm hoping to bring in, I'd hope to get him in for today, actually. This guy, Sinan Kilic. He's playing for Nantes in League 2. He was playing in League 1 for them last season, which is why I think we're able to get him in. He's been scoring plenty of goals in France. He's still only 23 years old, averaging a goal every other game pretty much, but he's dropped down into the French second division. And I'm hoping similar kind of player to Aaron. Perhaps not as good in the air, and not as quick and not as good at finishing. He scores goals. He's the best I can find. We're spending every penny that we brought in for Aaron on him as well. £28 million. We're getting around the fact we weren't given any money to spend by only doing £4 million up front and the other £24 million spread over 2 years. He's accepted the contract we've offered him. He just hasn't actually arrived at the club yet, so that needs confirming. But I mean, if we go back to my little shortlist, I mean these are the good strikers that my scouts have identified. In fact, he wasn't there a minute ago. Who on earth's this? He's fast. He's a better finisher. He's better in the air. He's English. He's not actually any more expensive. Hang on. This is a non-lethal legend first. We're having a live transfer bid go in. Let's just offer them the exact same deal we're offering for the other guy, because I kind of need to get something done this week. So what was it? £4 million up front, £24 million over 4 years. I'd normally negotiate a little bit more, but I want to get someone in quick, and I kind of like the look at this guy. See, we can't afford that. Right, we need to get this down to £9.5 million. Let's get it down to, I mean, really, we can't change from the terms we've offered. This is just going to have to be a take it or leave it, non-negotiable. Just accept it, Tottenham. There you go. That might be a thing that happens. I like the look of him even more. He's bigger, quicker, stronger, better finisher. He does look like the English Aaron. What's he been doing for Spurs? Nothing, but he's been doing nothing from the bench. I mean, that even his record looks like Aaron's. Maybe, just maybe. Let's get into the match, which is what we're supposed to be doing. So, life without Christian. Ambrose continues to play up front. Newcastle are trying to upset him. They've made 2 offers for him this week because we're playing them, and I think that's all they're up to. But he's going to stay up front alongside Lazio with Vaughan in behind. I'm just swapping Chris and Fritzer over in midfield today just to see how Chris does as box-to-box midfielder. Fritzer is more defensively minded anyway. Other than that, the team is the same team that played last weekend. Vaughan and Ambrose still aren't fully fit, but it's our first home game. Hopefully, we'll be able to pick up another win. And that will... it will still be the worst episode 1 I've ever done because of Aaron going, but results-wise, it'd be a good one. As far as our history goes for season openers, 28 million. I mean, we're Ipswich. The most money we'd ever made on a player sale in the past was Connor Wickham for £8 million. So to buy a player for less than £4 million and sell him on a year later for £28 million after he was basically the top scorer in the Premier League. He missed out by a goal, but his goals to games was incredible. Plus he's injury prone. I mean, if you try and rationalise it properly, it's not terrible business, but it just... it's gutting. It feels like the FA Cup semi-final all over again. I don't like... And there's another one. I don't like having players ripped out from under me. And there's Andre Dazelle reminding me that it's happened once before and creating their goal for them to put them 1-0 up. Joshua Emmanuel's going to turn up in a minute. He's a free agent. Bournemouth have played him about 4 times since they signed him. They released him in the summer. I imagine he'll just turn up selling programmes in a minute saying, hey, remember me as well? I did it. Oh, yeah. It didn't work out quite so well for me, did it? Is he going to be a Dazelle or is he going to be an Emmanuel? Old Aaron. Ambrose has scored again! Who needs Christian Arendt when you've got Thierry Ambrose at the club? Goal a game Thierry. He's suddenly realised it's possible to be a Premier League footballer. I mean, I don't even know what he's doing there. He's made such a meal of that. But that's his second goal in 2 games. Thierry has arrived in the Premier League, albeit 2 years after Ipswich Town did. But he has arrived all the same. Do we need to bring... Yeah, of course we need to bring another striker. We've only got Henry Smith as backup behind these two now. What I'd quite like to do is just bring back Keziah Sterling and keep the money and not have to go and panic buy £30 million on a striker. It kind of goes against my transfer policy, really, says the person who's just spent £28 million on a right back. So, but historically, overspending on fullbacks is my transfer policy. Just look back at... certainly did it at Exeter. Did I do it at York? I've done it here. I like a fullback. I don't like it when they're struggling for fitness the way Walker Peters is, though. So let's bring Will Leach on at half time and do that. Why not? Right, come on, lads. We can make this 2 wins in 2 games to start the season off here. It's been a fairly even match. We've actually had more of the clear... Well, we've had the only clear-cut chances. We've had 2, they've had none. More shots on target. Possession's fairly equal. We should go and win this game. If only we had a guaranteed goal-a-game striker. He was injured anyway. He wouldn't be playing today. It's making... Selling him has so far made precisely no difference to our season because he was going to be out for another 2 or 3 weeks anyway. So it doesn't matter yet. We've got a penalty. Who's our penalty taker now? Who is our number 20 now? I'm so familiar with my squad. Still don't know who that is. Yusuf? Yes, it's Yusuf. There we go. And it's 2-1. Yusuf has really fluffy looking hair. I've not noticed that about him before. I like it. That's how my hair's supposed to look when I have it cut more recently than 6 months ago. You might say, they tell you what, at some point in season 11, here's a promise for you. You'll see me after a haircut. Now, if that's not if you're not interested in the fact we're trying to decide between 2 young up-and-coming strikers to replace Arendt with, then come back for the haircut, which it'll probably appear around episode 5 or 6. That's my prediction. That was a fantastic save from Garrett. Right, come on. Larsio's not really got his season up and running yet, has he? He did have a fantastic first season. I think I said towards the end of last season, if Arendt hadn't been at the club, I would be raving about Larsio. So the fact no one seems to even be interested in him means we should be able to keep him for at least another season, which is nice. Interestingly, Chris is having a not terrible game, playing as a box-to-box midfielder. However, I am now going to move him back to his usual spot to bring Texera on. And we'll leave it like that for now. Henry Smith needs to get warmed up, though, because he's coming on in a minute. In fact, he probably isn't. I think I might bring Martin on for Johnny Vaughan and just leave the strikers alone for today. In fact, I might do that sooner rather than later, because I don't want to risk getting Johnny Vaughan injured. He's actually taken over as vice-captain now, Johnny Vaughan, as well. Who did I make captain? Aaron Cool, who you haven't seen yet, obviously. Larsio's there. But he was highest on the list. Forgot he wouldn't actually make it into the team anymore. So he's officially captain, taken over from Christensen, who's still at the club, but no longer captain. And I made Arendt vice-captain in a obviously failed attempt at trying to keep him at the club. He was vice-captain for about a week and a half, and now Johnny Vaughan is. And the little list now says Johnny Vaughan should be captain anyway. So, yeah, there you go. Considering Cool's rarely going to play, Johnny Vaughan is basically our new captain, aged 22 years old. He's going to be awesome. 3 England caps to his name already. Why United sold him, I don't understand. But let's take him off for today. Bring David Martin on. Why Arsenal sold him, I don't understand. We've got 2 good young attacking midfielders there. I remember when we used to have 2 good young strikers. They were the days. Of course, one of them got injured a lot and then ran off back to Germany at the first opportunity. Still hasn't played international football yet. Johnny Vaughan has. Oh, don't let Newcastle back into the game. No. Andre Dazelle, again, reminding me how sad I am at the events of this episode. trying to spoil my back-to-back wins party. Forget first game of the season, when have I ever had back-to-back wins, especially in the Premier League? This might be a non-league to legend first. Do not spoil it for Andre Dazzel's on the ball again. He's trying to spoil it for me. Ben Garrett keeps hold of the ball and finds Larsio. Hopefully Larsio finds Ambrose. I'm actually prey position. David Martin, there you go. New man. His first goal for the club. Christian who? We don't need no German wonder kids. We've got David Martin. There you go. That is a nice little finish as well. There you go. That's our new player. He can play on the wing as well. So, in fact, that might be something to consider with the new striker. Someone who can play out on the wing to give us that as an option. I even said that before and then forgot all about it because I had a rush of blood to the head and thought, oh, I've got to buy a striker right now. But the transfer window's open for a few more weeks. We're obviously not struggling yet, so perhaps I can take my time. You'll certainly meet the new forward in the next episode, which will be, I'll do it a little earlier than I normally would, and it will be Watford and Man United. So it'll be the first games after the transfer window closes, so you can see who we bring in to partner Larsio, or Ambrose, to be honest, if Ambrose carries on as he is. If you've enjoyed today's episode, make sure you pop a like on there for me. It's the first episode of a new season. It would be awesome to get it to 100 likes. It really helps people like an episode 1, and getting 100 likes on there really does make it more visible and brings people into the series. So if you're new here because of that, hello, make sure you subscribe, so then you'll find out who the new striker is. That applies to all of you, really. And thank you very much for watching.